Hello and welcome. This is Saad Usman. In today's video, we are going to discuss a DAX function called the switch. As per the Microsoft documentation, the switch function evaluates an expression against a list of values and returns one of multiple possible result expressions. It works in a similar way as the nested if function. However, it is comparatively easier to set up in complex situations. In this video, we are going to discuss three different applications of the switch function. But before discussing further, let's look at the data set. In our data model, we have sales for various product categories and brands across different cities of the Pakistan and over a number of years. Our first task is to categorize the products as follows. We would like to give the brand Apple as a group premium, the Microsoft as elegant, HP as magnificent, and all other brands as classic. To achieve this task, we will add a calculated column in the products table. Let's look at the table first. In products table, we have different brands appearing in this column, and we are going to add a calculated column to add the different brand groups. First, let me use the if function to perform this task, and later I'll show you how to do this using the switch function. For this purpose, I'm going to add a new column here. We will call this if brand group, and I'm going to apply if brand equals Apple, then I will call it premium. If product brand equals Microsoft, we will give it a name elegant. If brand equals HP, we will call it magnificent, and if it is any other brand, we'll call it classic. You can see that we have appropriate grouping against each brand. However, there is quite some repetition in the formula. We can choose the switch function to make it a shorter formula. Let's see how it's done. We'll call this new formula as switch brand group, and we are going to apply the formula switch. The first expression that we want to evaluate is the brand of the product. The first value which we are going to look up is Apple, and the result we want is premium. The second condition or the value is Microsoft, and we would like to see elegant as a group. Third case is HP, and in this case we want magnificent. In all other cases we would like to see classic. We'll close the bracket for switch and close the bracket and enter, and now we have got the same result. Since we have data in the table, now we can use this column as slides in our reports as well. We can also use the same function as a measure. Right now we have used it as a calculated column, but now we can also use it as a measure. So let's go to the report view and let's add a measure in this visual which will give us the brand group. So I'm going to click on new measure. I will write switch as a measure, switch group as a measure, and first I would like to see if the brand is filtered in my visual or not. If it is filtered, we were going to apply the formula later on. For this purpose, we will apply the formula is filtered, and we will see if the product brand is filtered or not. If it is filtered, then we are going to apply the formula switch, and we will see brand Apple, Premium, Microsoft, Elegant, HP, Magnificent, and in all other cases we would like to see the word classic. We'll close the bracket for switch, and then we'll close the bracket for instead we will have to specify one more value. What if the product's brand is not filtered? In this case, we would like to see a blank, and then we are going to close the bracket for if. You can notice that I have used a formula max with the product brand, because the problem is in this measure is that if I remove this aggregator before the brand, it will not result in a value. So let me first press enter and show that the result. We are going to put this measure in the visual, and let's expand it. And now you can see that in case of Apple, we have Premium, HP, Magnificent, Microsoft is Elegant, and all the others are Classic. What will happen if I remove this max aggregator in front of the switch? If I press enter now, I will get an error message, and the error message will show me that a single value for column brand in table products cannot be determined. This can happen when a measure formula refers to a column that contains many values without specifying an aggregation such as min, max, count, or sum to get a single result. So in this case, I've used the aggregator as max. So you can use min as well. When I press enter, we'll get the result, which is as we anticipated. In addition to text values, we can also apply the switch function on numbers as well. Let's say, for instance, we would like to categorize our sales quantities as small, medium, or bulk. In this case, since we will be evaluating a mathematical operation, we will set the expression as true. Let's go back to the table view, and in this case, since we have a table called sales, and in this sales we have units sold as a column. So what we are going to do is we are going to add a calculated column over here, which will categorize the sales, individual sales, as small, medium, or bulk. So in this case, I'm going to add a new column here, and I will name that as switch quantity, let's say group or category, switch quantity category. And in this case, I'm going to apply the formula switch. Since I'm going to apply the expression I'm going to evaluate is whether this units sold column, which is a value column, it is equal to or less than a certain value, then I will specify which category should it belong. So in this case, I'm going to first use a Boolean expression called true, and then I will put in my mathematical expression, which is I would like to see that units sold, if they are less than, let's say, 20, then this value should result as small. Otherwise, if units sold is less than, let's say, 40, the value should be medium, and in all other cases the value should be bulk. So in this case, we have given a Boolean expression of true or false, and if it is true, what my subsequent expression is going to do, it's going to evaluate each line item or each row with this expression. Whenever this value matches the expression given earlier, which is true, then the result will be given in the column. Otherwise, it will switch over to the next condition, and when this condition holds true, then this value will result and appear in this column. If nothing is comes out as true, then the last given value will be shown in the column. So if I press enter, we'll see small, medium, bulk. So this is how you can apply a switch formula on values as well. The third example relates to a more complex situation when we want to use slicers to determine which measures shall we use. Let's say if I go to this report view, what I want to do is I would like to see whether I would like to see the sales value or the cost or the profits. Since we have three measures available in the model, we can use a slicer to determine which value do we want to see. So in this case, first we will have to set up our table to get a slicer values. So in this case, I'm going to click on enter data, and we'll create a table called, let's say, selected metrics. I will give total sales. I will give it a value 1. Total costs, given value 2, and total profits 3. I will give this column as index and this column name as let's say metric, and I'll click on load to get this table in the data model. And once I have this table appearing in my data model, I will create a slicer based on the values. So let's get our value from here. I'm going to put the metric in the report view, and then I will click on slicer. Let me format it a bit. And now if I click on sales, I would like to see my sales appearing over here. Let's create a table visual, and I would like to see, what I would like to see is I would like to see my sales values or my costs or profits based on my selection. So if when I select sales values, I would like to see sales of all the product brands over here. So in this case, I'm going to create a measure, and this measure will use the slicer value to get a desired result in the visual. The measure can be written in one of the two ways. Let's create first measure. We'll call it measure selection. As anticipated, I'm going to use a switch function here, and since we would like to get the measure or the slicer value from the slicer, we are going to use a function called selected value, and I'm going to specify the measure or the metrics name from the selected metrics column, the metric column from the selected metrics table, and based on this, when my selection is total sales, I would like to use my measure which I've already created as total sales. When my measure is selected metric is total costs, then I'm going to use my second measure. When my selection is total profits, for example, then I will use total profits. And if nothing is selected, let's say if I select more than one, if I make more than one selection or select nothing, then my default value should be total sales, for example. So in this case, we'll go close the bracket of switch, press enter. Let's format it, no decimal places, and put this measure in the visual. And now you can see that the sales values of 162 million appear based on my selection as of sales. If I change it to costs, for example, the value changes to 108 million, and then if I select profit, the value comes down to 53.9 million. So this is exactly coming from the selection in the slicer, and I have just created one measure which does it all. Another way to create the same measure as using the switch function is a little bit different. I'm going to create another measure here. Let's call this measure selection 2, and in this case I'm going to use the switch function again, but this time I'm going to use a boolean expression true, and then I'm going to use the function selected value and the metric. If the matrix is equal to total sales, then I want to get total sales from my formula. If my selected value equals total costs, then I'm going to get total cost as my measure. And if my selected value is equal to, let's say, total profits, then I'm going to get total profit from my measure. And if nothing is selected, then I'm going to revert to my default value, which is total sales. If I press enter, I'll get the same result. Let me just format it and put this in the visual. So you see we get exactly the same result, and it also works perfectly fine. Total costs, total sales, and so on. So this is how we can apply the switch function, which is very powerful and very useful when it is used in combination with other DAX functions. This is all for this video. I will share some more useful information in other videos as well. And I hope you would have enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching.